at the Las Vegas Open, Las Vegas Standard Open for Star City Games Live. I'm not quite sure what they're playing, but we're about to find out.
All right, so Lowell's up a game. Greg is on the play, and he leads off with a Phantasmal Bear. So this is Illusions.
Of course, we saw Todd Anderson top 8 with Illusions in Indianapolis, I believe.
Yeah, the first Innistrad Standard Tournament.
And on the left, Lowell has played a Sun Petal Grove. That could be. So could that be the Wolf Run White?
He could be playing the green-white Wolf Run deck. He more likely is playing a deck similar to Martin Jew's deck that he recently won the Grand Prix with.
So that more of a token strategy. With,
yes, green-white token Township strategy.
And we have just gotten confirmation that that's what Lowell is playing.
Okay.
Now that card, Township in Limited, can be a beating. Sometimes the tempo, you fall behind, but
it's very good. All right, so, ooh, that's a Viridian Emissary. So it does look like he is playing the version of some type of green-white ramp deck. Or maybe he's just playing green-white tokens with Rampant Growths and Elspeths and Garrux and scary cards of that sort.
That's a what's it called?
An Aether
Delver
Adept.
of Secrets.
Ooh, and a Delver of Secrets.
Insectile Aberration.
So Greg Hatch is not playing Illusions.
Well,
he is playing a blue-white aggro deck that happens to be playing Phantasmal Bear because it's a 2-power 1-drop.
It's the best 1-drop for this type of deck. Well, along with Delver of Secrets.
Well, Delver of Secrets, it's about 1 in 3 to actually flip.
It does have the Ponder, though, so that most of the time you can guarantee yourself a flip if you cast Ponder after the Delver.
That's true. All right, so Greg's going to get in for 3 more damage.
Well, it looks like he's going to Ponder first, see if he can draw into something.
Yeah, maybe he can go land Aether Adept.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, really put his opponent in a bad spot. All right. Let's see. There's another Delver there. Now, if he has a spell to go with that Delver that's on the top of his deck, then he can put the Delver on top, cast it this turn, and then be guaranteed to flip it into a 3/2 flyer the next turn.
Ponder again? No, what is that?
It's another Phantasmal Bear.
So Greg Hatch now has 2 Phantasmal Bears, an Aether Adept, and the Delver of Secrets transformed.
Insectile Aberration.
Yeah, that word just doesn't roll off my tongue well.
Do you know it's still a human once it flips?
Is it a human insect?
It is a human insect. It's a Jeff Goldblum.
The fly. I like the original fly better, with Vincent Price.
I don't know if I've ever seen that version.
It's pretty good.
So, Lowell cast a Solemn Simulacrum. Greg decides to let it resolve. Now, that's going to be a pretty good speed bump. But with Lowell at just 10, I think Greg is going to have a good opportunity here to stick a Lord of the Unreal and get in there for quite a bit of damage.
But I believe off that last Ponder, he saw 2 islands. So he may have kept the 1 action spell, but is going to draw into back-to-back islands here? I could be wrong. Maybe he had been switching back and forth with his hand, and we saw his hand.
Huh, so he's getting in for another 3. Lowell will drop down to 7 here. Insectile Aberration, obviously very strong against green decks, having a flying creature. Always very good in these types of matchups.
So Greg cast the Lord of the Unreal post-combat. Did not want to get in there with some 3/3 bears.
I mean, that's fine. His opponent could simply double block, and then he'd be forced to allow his opponent to draw a card and search his library for a land, which could give his opponent enough mana to play Elesh Norn on the following turn. But Greg actually does have Mana Leak in hand, so Elesh Norn is not quite as problematic as one might expect.
Oblivion Ring takes out.
Right, Greg is deciding right now whether or not he wants to Mana Leak this bird. I would let it resolve. But at this point, you know, that Mana Leak in his hand is essentially an Incinerate to Lowell's face, because by countering that bird, he'll be able to put Lowell in a position where Lowell has one less turn where he can chump block.
The question here is, what is Greg Hatch afraid of? Mountain.
Yeah, and that's going to be to activate all those wolf runs that he has there.
So Lowell really played that in the right order. Well, he's got the birds now, so he could activate off the birds. So if he just waits a turn, if he takes 3 from the aberration, he could block with the birds next turn and pump the birds with the Kessig Wolf Run.
Correct.
And of course, those wolf runs can also just start slaughtering Phantasmal Bears. So now, seeing the red mana, Greg is almost forced to get in there with those bears. Otherwise, they're just going to start dying for free.
Yeah, if Greg just bashes with everybody here, he's going to put Lowell in a pretty rough spot. Lowell will be forced to chump block this turn.
There he goes. Greg swings with all 4. Bird. Now Lowell has to figure out if he can keep the Birds of Paradise around for 1 extra turn. He's going to block, and chump blocks the aberration.
Yeah, and he's still going to drop to 5 here, which puts Greg in a pretty decent position. His opponent, doesn't have any creatures now on the battlefield,
but by leaving the Phantasmal Bears around, he can, if he has enough mana, get a free kill on it with the Wolf Run.
Yeah, he can just pay 3 mana. And are we sure that Wolf Run isn't a creature you control?
I'm pretty sure.
It's anybody, right? Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I think it can get Spellskited.
Yes, it can get Spellskited. You're correct. Okay.
This is a real tough spot here for Lowell Hahm.
I know. I wonder what's on the top of Greg's deck.
Right, because he played a second Delver of Secrets. If that thing transforms, it's pretty much over.
Yeah, that'll be it for Lowell.
If you're Lowell, don't you almost have to play as if the top card of the library is not a spell?
Yeah.
Unless he's got something. So he does use the Wolf Run to kill the Phantasmal Bear.
Alright.
Needs to figure out Green Sun for 1. To get a Birds of Paradise. Okay, so now he's played in a way that if the second Delver flips, he can still chump block and go to 2.
When it doesn't flip, if he wants to, he can... Ooh.
And he also plays a Verde Emissary, so... Now the Delver has to stay at home.
See, I'm surprised he blocked there.
Yeah.
Because the next turn he could just use his Wolf Run and trade.
Yeah, that's what we were saying, to set up a turn where you can block with the birds and pump it. But if he takes 3 to there and the Delver flips the next turn, then he might be dead. So
yeah, I mean,
but yeah,
it's better to make a play that gives you the most opportunity to win as opposed to a play that keeps you alive.
All this does is buy you a turn. If you don't block, you can potentially take out the Insectile Aberration for good. And that'll buy you a lot of turns.
Alright, so let's see what Lowell has for us here.
He's got a lot of Haymakers in his hand.
He does.
But none of them really deal with a 3/2 flyer, I guess. I think we saw Green Sun Zenith and a Primeval Titan.
Okay. Now, yeah, Lowell's going to go ahead and try to resolve Primeval Titan.
And it
Greg's going to
mana
manually hit.
And Greg now has missed twice on his second Delver of Secrets.
Yep.
So
and
very
when you don't
lucky.
have the Ponder, it's you know, it's pretty hard to hit those.
But now he's just going to play another one, so that these little 1/1s are lethal.
Yeah, they're oftentimes you have decks where they flip about, you know, a little less than
like a third.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, third is 20
land,
cards.
Third spells, 1/3 creatures.
He definitely has a lot of guys, though, so it would seem difficult for him to be able to do it with a higher rate than that. At the same time, though, it's still, you know, an Aaron Ephemeron, and the game sort of flips immediately. It just completely dominates the game.
Greg looks very serene here. He knows he's pretty much got this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, they only have 3 minutes 50 seconds left right now.
They're gonna get a little bit of extra time because we moved the table to the camera. So they'll have some time extension.
Yeah, Lowell really needs to make a decision here if he wants to have a chance to win the match, though.
Well, Lowell needs to make a decision if he doesn't want to get a slow play.
It's true.
Am I allowed to give a slow play warning from the booth? Does that work?
I don't know, you could...
Do we have the technology for that? If I could just reach into this computer screen. Okay, so now he's doing something.
Alright, he's ghost quartering his own land.
Is he just thinning his deck? Or did he need more? No, he doesn't need more green.
Alright. Now, I think this game might just be over. Always depends on the top of Greg's deck, though. Alright, so Lowell's going to go ahead and cast Garruk Primal Hunter. He's
So what happened there was he needed the fourth green, which is why he had to ghost quarter his own land. Still dead to a spell. There it is. Flip, flip.
Yep.
So Greg Hatch takes that second game off of Insectile Aberration.
And now they're going to have to shuffle up and try to play game 3, but unfortunately for them, there's only a few minutes left on the clock. So,
minute and a half left on the official clock. Potentially, 3 to 5 minute time extension for the moving of the tables. Give them some time to shuffle. And that's going to favor Greg Hatch here, you have to think.
Yeah, I mean, Greg's deck is certainly capable of winning in a faster manner than Lowell's deck is. He has, 2 power creatures for 1 mana, 3 power creatures for 1 mana. If he comes out of the gate it's quick, he can just take the game.
And this is the kind of tight situation where if you're Lowell Hahm, you might make some odd sideboarding decisions. because you don't really want your high-end spells. You're not trying to win at this point because I don't think you can win in the time remaining. So Lowell may just look for any spell that's kind of ultra defensive in a sideboard, even if they're not optimal in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, or he could just be keeping his deck as an aggressive build, and
I mean, it's an explosive deck. Like if you land a Primeval Titan, it can just finish things off. But I don't know if it's going to be possible to even get to a Primeval Titan here with the time remaining. You see Cedric Phillips there in the background, Washington State champion. Smelling someone's shoe.
Ooh. That's an interesting sight.
All right. Cedric, you're on camera smelling a shoe.
Yeah, I think that we should permanently log this video footage.
I'm glad I saw that.
So are hundreds, if not thousands, of other people.
A couple thousand, I think normally we get. So officially, time in the round is over, but we believe they probably had a couple of minutes of time extension on this match. Greg Hatch playing a blue-white aggro deck with Phantasmal Bears and Delver of Secrets as his key one-drops.
I wonder if he has Grand Architect also.
That would be hot. I do recall seeing lists like that, with the Bears into the Architects. We didn't see any there, but could have sideboarded them out.
Yeah, we never know. I mean, we just watched the game too, so we don't have deck lists because we came into this match late.
And in those decks, Grand Architect was mostly just there as a lord, right? It was not. Were there any high-end artifacts that it would try to get to?
No, I mean it came out in the same sort of Feast and Famine, and it interacts really well with the swords.
Okay, yeah. So you use the mana to play and equip your sword.
Oh, okay, so they have 17 minutes remaining. They were deck checked in addition to being under camera.
So that changes a lot of things. 17 minutes.
Yeah, 17 minutes is a while.
That's certainly enough time for Lowell to kind of achieve a regular victory here.
Yeah, I mean, both players do need to play pretty quickly, but not... Hey, they still have a third of their match, yeah.
There's not going to be really anything that can, I think, life gain. And maybe Greg Hatch has got Grand Architect and Wormcoil Engine, but...
Maybe he has Malira or something.
Malira?
She doesn't have Inkmoth. I'm joking. I mean, he's almost certainly going to bring in like a Viridian Corruptor, maybe some number of Ancient Grudge. Alright, Greg goes ahead and casts Ponder. Lowell psychs him out of it by pretending that he has the Mental Misstep.
I don't really like the turn 1 Ponder from this deck. I feel like you want to play one of the creatures, Phantasmal Bears or Delver of Secrets, unless he can specifically set up a Delver of Secrets into a spell with the Ponder.
Alright. So Greg's going to get a Lord of the Unreal out there. Lowell has Viridian Emissary.
And getting aggro with it, so probably going to play another one here.
Yeah, one would expect that. You normally don't just not attack a Planeswalker, or not, right. I'm sorry. No.
You know, just attack with it for no reason here.
Yeah.
Could Green Sun Zenith for 2 to get Emissary. Looks like that's, yeah, there we go. So he attacked and then he thought about it, which is kind of odd. I mean, maybe he was just kind of trying to bluff something else. But in a situation like that, against an aggro deck, I think you want to have your line of play thought out before attacking, because those potential blockers are valuable. Yeah, that guy's not tapped. There you go.
All right. Let's see. All right. Greg once again brainstorms. See what he can find.
He keeps kind of waiting and like asking if it resolves. I wonder if Lowell had flashed a mental misstep at some point in game 1, just to get that response out of Greg.
I mean, it's not unreasonable for a deck to have a couple mental missteps in the sideboard.
Yeah.
Man, Emissary is so strong. It really just puts the brakes on aggro decks so well. And Greg's going to continue pondering.
Yeah, what Greg needed right there was a phantasmal image copying the Lord of the Unreal.
That would have been perfect.
To set up the kind of illusions that, illusions with hexproof, with the Lord of hexproof.
Who can possibly see an illusion? It's hard to shoot what you can't see.
Greg's pondered twice this turn, kept the cards on top both times.
Alright,
and yet still doesn't really have much offense going. Lowell's just going to start crashing in with Viridian Emissaries.
Now, Lowell Ham's deck list, I'm interested to find out whether or not he's on a more controlling or more aggressive route. We were not able to see his game in game 1, so we don't know what his main deck is. His deck seems very good, though.
See, Jacob, this is what happens. You make a statement like, Greg Hatch is favored here, and then Lowell just decides to get aggro with Viridian Emissaries.
Yeah, I mean...
This is why Magic is so great. Even the most, kind of slow, controlling, rampish decks like this can just got random 2/1s attacking now.
Turn the tide whenever it wants to.
And now Greg, even though he's playing an aggro deck, has to start making decisions in control mode. Because he's getting assaulted here by these little acceleration dorks.
I played Mono Red recently in a Magic Online tournament, and having an opponent cast Viridian Emissary is extremely obnoxious. Alright, so he decides to go ahead and Phantasmal Image the Solemn Simulacrum. Now...
So Greg had the image, but decides rather than doubling up on Lord of the Unreal, he wants to get a little ramp. And since he is under assault, now having the Simulacrum to block will get him some card advantage.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, that Solemn Simulacrum is actually a 3/3 because of the Lord of the Unreal that Greg has in play.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So he's not even gonna trade here. Well, now he might trade. Yeah, O-Ring resolves on Lord. So now the image shrinks back to a 2/2.
Now, what do you think Greg's going to do here? You think he's going to
well, how many
trade
lands,
up the Solemns, or
how many lands does Lowell have? That could be
a lot.
Because if Lowell already has like 6 lands, I think you just want to give him another land rather than a card. And it looks like he's got at least 5, so no, he takes it?
Huh.
Well, he made some kind of hand gesture, but could have just been
Yeah, it could have just been an exclamation.
Yeah. Looks like he's still thinking about what his block is. Now he reaches for the life pad and takes it.
Okay, Greg goes ahead and he's going to cast this Phantasmal Image. And I suppose he'll target another Solemn Simulacrum. Alright.
Greg goes with the Lord of the Unreal and says go. So now he's back in that same position where he does have a 3/3 Phantasmal Image copying a Solemn Simulacrum.
Yeah, that's going to put the brakes on pretty hard for Lowell. Unless he has something to deal with it.
Greg's at 8 though. You just crash in here, lose a guy, trade with the Lord. Well, Greg can't even trade with the Lord because then the Phantasmal Image will shrink back. So he can only block with the Phantasmal Image and take 4.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and just eat one of these Solemn Simulacrums. However, if Lowell is able to apply a little more pressure, he's probably going to have Greg dead.
The way Greg played his last turn, he has to have some form of counterspell here. Otherwise, yeah. So here comes a Titan, right into a mana leak.
Yeah.
So now Greg is almost in a safe position. Almost. Very tenuous. Oh, but
another Phantasmal Image and a Phantasmal Bear.
Copying Lord of the Unreal. So now all his illusions have hexproof.
Yeah, and I mean that's a.
And you can't even get rid of that.
That's 6 damage. He's coming in for 14 here.
Yeah, that's 4 from the Phantasmal Image. It's being pumped twice. 2 more from the Lord. 6 damage.
Yeah, I mean.
And he's got 2 pretty hardy defenders.
Yeah.
He's got 2 4/4 hexproof guys.
What is that top card? The blue creature on top there? Is that a Phantasmal Bear, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he tapped 3 mana total. It almost has to be. Yeah.
All right. Lowell's going to go ahead and ram McGrowth again.
He's going to get himself a second planes. Yeah, because he needs to... Now he's on the defensive. He's going to need a Day of Judgment and hope that Greg has not set himself up with another counterspell for it. Now, Lowell is up to 7 mana, so Mana Leak is no longer viable against Day of Judgment. We'll have to see if Greg has anything like Negate, Dissipate.
Things have turned around pretty quickly here. Ooh, a Vapor Snag. That's really good here.
Bounces an Emissary and makes Lowell lose a life. Kind of a limited, not even All-Star. Not even Star, just kind of a regular old limited card there. Getting it done. Another Phantasmal Image.
Yeah, and that's going to copy that Grand Architect again. And that's a really cool interaction because Grand Architect, Lord of the Unreal does not say that all other illusions gain hexproof. It's all illusions gain hexproof. So even though he himself is not an illusion, if you use Phantasmal Image to copy him, he still gets the bonus of hexproof and the bonus
+1/+1. So now we got to do all this. How big are these guys? So the Simulacrum Image is a 5/5.
Yeah, it's a 5/5.
They should all be 5/5s. Yeah.
Yep.
All illusions are 5/5s at this point, and the Lord is a 2/2. So 17 damage coming at him. He has to chump block.
Yeah, he's most certainly going to chump block, but...
And take 5, 10, 12, going to 1. I don't know. I guess he could be thinking about whether he wants to activate an Inkmoth Nexus and soak up some more damage.
And that seems completely reasonable here.
But if he does not have a land in hand, you have to have 7 up for Day of Judgment and pay for Mana Leak.
And you have to be able to pay for Mana Leak also, yes. Okay.
So he blocks 2 of the 5/5s, takes 7. And yeah, now one of them is going to get a -1/-1 counter from Infect.
And Lowell's going to drop down to 6 life here in that attack.
Okay, so he can get the land from Viridian Emissary. So that's fine. That's dead even then on the lands.
Yeah.
That'll work. Now you just got to throw that day on the board and say, do you got it?
I mean, that's exactly what he needs to do. Maybe he has like a Gideon to buy himself a turn. You never know. Do we know he has Dire Judgment for sure?
I believe I saw it in his hand on the last turn, so I mean he's pretty much going to slam it here.
I won't expect him to. Yeah, here it comes.
He's setting, yeah, there's his 2 white, and I want to leave what open? Ink Moth. He got it?
Ooh.
No, he does not have it.
Jeez.
So Greg Hatch goes back to nothing, but does draw a card from the Simulacrum image. Look at so no creatures on the board. Lowell replays that Emissary that had been Vapor Snagged.
Yeah, the blast from the past.
Look at these life totals, 6 to 4. Very tenuous. Oh man! So Greg did have that Mana Link and uses it to counter Viridian Emissary.
Well, this game is pretty close.
But now Lowell has the alternate victory condition for this deck. Ink Moth Nexus, Kessig Wolfrun.
I mean, I'm sure most people will be prepared for...
Yeah, he's going to think a little bit about it. Decide if he wants to go in on that plan or cast a Gideon.
And a Gideon is really good if you're playing it into an empty board.
I mean, if nothing else, it's threatening lethal right here.
Yep. Greg is at 4.
Attack for 6.
So.
What is this? Did he Moorland Haunt? Yeah.
That makes sense.
So Greg had a Moorland Haunt hiding there amongst his lands. Makes a token. It does have to attack Gideon.
Yeah, must.
But having the Haunt means that Gideon cannot just auto get in there for 6.
Oh yeah.
Greg can make a token to block.
He can just chain some tokens and block essentially forever. However, by just activating it over and over for 6, Greg's going to be forced to dump a lot of mana into this Haunt.
And dump creatures in, so that he'll never be able to kill the Gideon on a counter swing.
Alright, so Greg's going to go ahead and chump block with that. And he's just going to activate the Wolfrun, and that's going to be it.
Snapcaster on Vapor Snare? Or Snag, I mean?
Vapor Snag, yep.
Yes.
That's going to put Lowell down 5.
Oh, wow.
And now Greg is going to...
he's got 4 power on the board, so you can get Lowell to 1 off this attack.
Yep. Lowell's going to drop down to 1 life.
What is he going to do about that Gideon?
Well, I mean, yeah, the Gideon's kind of rough.
If he has another counterspell, let's see here.
Or Snapcaster Mage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Lowell can play around Mana Leak.
Okay.
And it looks like they may have just come up on their time extension.
All right, and the Gideon comes back down.
Pays for the Mana Leak.
Right,
Greg has the second
turn
Mana Leak.
1
There it
now.
is. Wow.
And that's it. And Greg turned that one around really quickly.
That was an amazing sequence there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, Greg played exceptionally well.
He had that Vapor Snag for the Gideon and waited for Lowell to tap out for the Kessig Refront.